Well, just want to thank everyone that helped to make the recordings and everything with PJ and all the musicians that we know, and we hope to meet him soon again and have tunes with him. Thanks very much.
Okay, we're nearly ready to go, and I have to just to thank a couple of people that without their help this show couldn't have gone ahead. I want to give a huge thank to Con Moynihan and Nicky McAuliffe, because they gave up an awful lot of time to help me on this one, and special thanks to you lads. I'd also like to thank, of course, Kerry County Council for funding it, and the Arts Council of Ireland and the Sliabh Luachra Music Trail, and our Kerry Arts Officer, Kate Kennelly.
Back, and we're coming, I suppose, to the highlight of our night, the fiddle recital now, which is taking on a different kind of a shape this year. It's called Insights, I suppose, the theme, a series of insights into music of the area. And I know PJ like me to thank all the people who contributed in every way to the series of presentations that you're about to see. I suppose the insight is into the journey where the music has come from over the past while, where it originated, where it's going, and the challenge, I suppose, to all those people learning music to take on our style of traditional music, our Sliabh Luachra style. And there's lots of material now, archival material there for you to enjoy that. Before we finish, again, I'd like to thank PJ for making all this possible. And there's a number of people PJ asked me to thank also, starting with Kate Kennelly, the Arts Officer in Kerry County Council, and her staff, the Arts Council of Ireland.
Hello everyone, I hope you're enjoying World Fiddle Day. I'm sorry we're not together for it, but that's the way at the moment. There are many things which could be happening and aren't happening, but we hope at some point soon will be happening. So, what about Sliabh Luachra? What about the music and my connection with it? In a strange way, I'm an intruder because I play the pipes, but I still love that music. And the story for me begins with the fiddle. My brother Oliver is a fiddle player, and as a family we used to go down to stay with Dennis Murphy in Guineaguilla in Lachine. And Oliver is older than I am, and he used to go down on his own to meet Dennis Murphy, and he even had the pleasure and the privilege of meeting Padraig O'Keeffe once. And one thing I do remember about this, Oliver is a classical player. I don't think he plays much now, but he played the viola and he brought it down with him. And Dennis Murphy was very taken with it, partly because I suppose maybe the fingerboard gave more space on the viola being bigger. And when Oliver came down the second time for one of these visits, the first thing Dennis said to him was, "Did you bring the big fiddle with you?" Because it was something new for him. Similarly, actually, as it happens with Tommy Potts, the great Dublin fiddle player, Oliver showed him the viola and he played it and he loved it as well. Maybe for that same reason, that there was more space on the fingerboard. But I don't think Dennis needed that space, because Mikey Duggan used a great phrase to me once about Dennis. He said that when he was playing a tune, he never got tied up in it, as if the fingers would all sort of get knotted if you weren't playing it, if you weren't on top of the game. So we played that music. I don't think I ever remember hearing the term Sliabh Luachra. I'd actually personally be surprised if Dennis Murphy ever used Sliabh Luachra. We played the Doon Reel and Callahan's Reel and the Mountain Road, all those tunes that we heard from him. But to us, it was just music we liked, and Dennis Murphy was undoubtedly a sort of a star of the music. But things like regional styles, I don't think were mentioned at all at that stage. If they were, it certainly flew over my head. So I was playing the music, then I went to work in RTE, and there I heard these recordings made by Seamus Ennis in Lyons Pub in Scartaglin in 1949, and I was really bowled over by them, the duets with Padraig O'Keeffe and Dennis Murphy. And I was this sort of, in a way, renewed my interest in it in a different way. And then John Walsh, who, as you would know, is a fiddle player and a composer, John suggested to me that we make documentary programs about Padraig O'Keeffe and that he would be a good subject for this. And of course, John was right, and he persisted. And eventually I took him up with it, and we decided to make these programs. So some of the players I knew already, like Dennis Murphy, like Julia Clifford, like Johnny O'Leary. I'd met Johnny as well. The Cronin brothers, Paddy and Johnny, I met them as well one day in Dublin. Funny enough, one I met in the studio in Donnybrook, the other I met in O'Donoghue's pub. So I met them both that same day, but they didn't meet each other. And I remember hearing recently a programme that I'd made about Pádraig O'Keeffe on his birthday in the 1980s, and I listened back to it recently, and the thing that surprised me about it was the fact that I actually knew virtually nothing about Pádraig O'Keeffe. Listening to it, there were a lot of inaccuracies in it, so it was a good idea that we went down to do these documentary programmes. And I think of about 40 people speaking on them, there's maybe only 10 or so left still on this earth. The rest have gone to the next life, and that's a sad thing, but it's an inevitable thing. But when I think of all the people that I met and the times that I had with them and the things they said, it's just sad to think that so many of them are not there. But who were the people I met? Well, the first night's recording was in Tom Fleming's pub, and he was a great help in the putting together of these programmes. And there was Sonny Reardon, Paddy Gleeson, Mikey Duggan was there, and Patchy and Connell, and they gave a lot of information. Two others I met who impressed me greatly were Ger Collins and Willie O'Connell. I went to their house, and these were people that stayed at home where some of the big players had emigrated, like Dennis, like the Cronin brothers, like Jerry McCarthy, but they had stayed at home, and I was just very taken by their music. Other people I met as well, Paddy Jones, I just only met him later in life. He was I think an uncle of Mary Jones. She was also a great help to me in the putting together of these programs. But Paddy, I liked his music, but I also thought he was a wonderful human being, a very, very spiritual man. I was very sorry when he passed on. I really respected him. I mentioned Johnny O'Leary. He was a great help. Dan Connell, of course, was a great man to steer me around the place. Funny, three publicans, Mary Jones, Dan Connell and Tom Fleming, were great help to me. Others I met, we did the interviews with Dennis McMahon in Mary's pub, and he was again a unique sort of character and a great musician, but also just a wonderful human being. Jackie Daly as well. And this is the thing about the Cork side. I was unaware of this, that Sliabh Luachra doesn't really respect boundaries in that way. In fact, Dan Connell said that to me, said the county border doesn't make any difference. But one time when I was in Cork, all right, a fella said to me, said, well, this is not Sliabh Luachra, this is Western Duhallow. So I stood corrected there. And also when I went to West Limerick, I realised that this music is very prominent there. Other people just mentioned Billy Clifford. I liked his music very much. I mentioned Jerry McCarthy was another one who went to the States and had great time with Dennis Murphy out there. And Jerry lived in Dublin, as it happened, on the same road as Eamon Kelly, the famous Shanachie, and these were two Kerrymen, and they were always very taken by the idea that the road they lived on in Coolock was St. Brendan's Drive, so they had a little bit of home for them there. So I'm sure I may have left people out, and if I do, I apologise to them, because there are so many people. It's an unwritten rule of radio and everything else that if you give a list, you'll always leave someone out, so I apologise for that in advance. But what I can say is that all that interaction with Sliabh Luachra, it had a bearing on my own music always, but also just the whole knowing about the tradition and everything. If you're playing a tune, I think it helps you a lot to know the background, to know the people. That's all a part of it, So those are my memories of it, those people I met, and I hope that in some way when you're enjoying fiddle music, you too think of the people who play it and the long tradition that goes with it, and that will continue, I'm sure, with the World Fiddle Day. So all the best. Míle buíochas a bheith géiste clom. Slán go fóill.
My name is Eve O'Driscoll, and I'm going to be playing a Tom Billy Murphy version of The Broomstick. I got this from Owen O'Sullivan, who got it from an old Tom Billy Murphy manuscript.
The Fenians were hardly rounded up in 1875, Tom, and you saw two world wars, the Land War, the War of Independence, the Civil War and the Economic War. An interesting world you lived in, and a world that did you few favours. I see an 8-year-old boy with tears in his eyes and an ache in his heart as his mother's coffin leaves the family home in Glencollins. You got over the grief as best you could, but it must have blighted your childhood. And ill fortune wasn't finished with you yet. Barely in your teens when that dreadful disease nearly crippled you and took the sight from your eyes and the light from your young life. But you were a survivor, Tom, and I suppose the music helped. Your old mentor Tygeen and Ossel didn't abandon his blind pupil in his hour of need. No scarcity of empathy there. He knew the hard road you had before you, and he made a fiddler out of you, in spite of your impaired bowing hand. I suppose he became a kind of a role model for you. Determined not to be a burden on your family, you hit the road with your fiddle, your tin whistle and the donkey as navigator, building up your student base and a reputation as a good humoured teacher, a fine musician and a great storyteller. Antavian Shulach bin Shesh Gaelach. In heaven heading west to what you dubbed Tirn and Og, bringing news from Scat to Scrahanaville, and tall tales from touring Glenahee to far-flung fairies and Farn Fore. Children danced out the road to greet you, and word spread through the district that Tom Billy had arrived and a week of entertainment was guaranteed. Pupils played their old tunes and new tunes were dictated and practiced. Local musicians called, and music rang to the rafters and battering feet rose dust from the kitchen floor. They were the good days, Tom. They brought you fame, and if not fortune, they gave you financial independence in tough times. That dark November you got the stroke in Farn Fore. Your family took you back home to Ballydesmond and later on to Mallow. No children danced out to greet you, no hearty welcome at the door. Just the muffled sound of the nurse's footsteps, their subdued voices and soft hands as they eased your pain and prepared you for your final trip to Tirn and Og. Now your fame has spread far beyond your native heath. Generations that never knew you play your music and smile at the mention of your name. You're remembered with respect and affection as a link to the music from a long forgotten time and a foundation stone of the golden age of the modern era. On World Fiddle Day, Sliabh Luachra remembers the blind boy from Ballydesmond. Rest in peace, Ulstock.
Let me tell you about an old fiddler friend and mentor which I first met in 1964, which is 57 years ago, and he is no longer with us. I am teaching his granddaughter to play the fiddle, his fiddle, and his name, Dennis McMahon. Dennis was born here in Castleisland in Churchtown in the early 40s. His parents, Julie and May, were avid set dancers. Julie also played the melodeon, which probably gave Dennis his first love of music.
I'd love to know a little bit about how Dennis started out in playing traditional music in the early days. Who were his influencers or teachers at the time?
As a young lad, I suppose Dennis went to the convent in Castleisland where he studied with the nuns, but Johnny McCarthy, who was a great pupil of the great Pádraig O'Keeffe, used to do lessons once a week on the fiddle, and of course Dennis took up his first instrument, which was the fiddle, and got lessons from Jury. Later on he decided to change from the fiddle onto the accordion, and with a meeting, I presume, with Willie Reedy, uncle of Johnny, and he got lessons from Willie on the button accordion, and he also, as he got older, he went out, he used to drive around out to Lixna, and got lessons from another man out there, Pat Keane.
Do you know where Dennis would have got his fiddle? The one I'm playing here?
While playing his accordion for a number of years, Dennis then decided that the accordion fraternity was getting a bit large. So he decided, for the better of a session, that he would go back to his fiddle again. So we took a drive up in 1965 up to a music shop in Limerick, an old man selling second-hand instruments, Charlie McMahon, the same name, and the fiddle you were playing, Maeve, was bought in 1965 for the sum of £20. A big sum of money in those days.
And I'd love to know whereabouts in his own area of Castleisland did he play in the early days? Like, did he play in pubs or what sort of places? And who would he have played with?
Yes. Well, there wouldn't be many pub sessions, if any, in those days, I think. It was a lot of house sessions that Dennis would be involved in. I'd say, number one, his own house at home, where Willie Reedy would have visited. I think Pádraig O'Keeffe used to visit there, and there would be his earlier sessions. Later on, he moved out, and he used to give a call to a man in Scartaglin, another former pupil of Pádraig O'Keeffe, Michael Duggan, and he learned tunes off Michael Duggan and as well. And then he came out. When I got to know him, he called to me outside in Knocknagoshel where I lived. He would call out and we'd play and learn tunes until the small hours of the morning. Other nights we'd move on with Dennis's big tape recorder onto another friend, Jack Regan, who lived further up in Knocknagoshel in a place called Mean, and we'd have a session there as well. And there'd be always a tape checked and a tune picked out to learn for that week. And we also of course paid back in North Kerry. We went to the Sheehy household in Glencoe, where there would be music again until morning and more tunes.
And would you know anything, Nicky, about how Dennis would have gone about collecting and learning new tunes?
Dennis would have learned a lot of music from I suppose meeting up with Michael Duggan, meeting up with Willie Reilly, meeting up with Pat Skeen. But in those days, people learned tunes from tape recorders, the radio, and also the gramophone. Now, I have a very important record here, which is known as a 78 from the gramophone era, and it's Paddy Cronin from Guinea. This record was made in Boston about 1950 for the Copley label, and they were known as 78s. And Paddy recorded it for the Copley label back at that time. Also, another Kerryman recorded singing, the late Connie Foley from Tralee. Now, Dennis bought a tape recorder around that time, a big tape recorder, Grundig, McKelligan's in Castle Island, for the sum of 60 guineas. Now, that was electric and a big model, and it was only fit for house sessions or house learning. So in 1966, Dennis decided that we'd have to get a transistor tape recorder, and this machine was bought in 1966 to go to the flats, tape the sessions, tape the competitions, tape wherever there was a tune. And this is still I still haven't got this machine, and I was given the job to learn the tunes, and the lads learned the tunes off me first. And I suppose, in conclusion, Dennis will be remembered for his famous hat and his smoking his pipe while he played. And I suppose he'll be also remembered as a great adjudicator at all the flats down the years. He was also a king of the street session. Wherever there was a session held, Dennis was there at the small houses in the morning and playing in any town in Ireland or any flat in Ireland. I suppose he's also remembered for a great, they'll be also remembered for a great duet, fiddle duet. Connie O'Connell from Kilnamartyr and Dennis will be always remembered as a great fiddle duet down the years. And I suppose he'll be also remembered for his soft-spoken voice. Now, I suppose in August 2018, with his last tune played, came the day for the trip down the Valley of Silence to be reunited with his idols, O'Keefe, Dennis Murphy, John Kelly, for the eternal band Beyond the Sky. I think a great English poet, Shelley, put it very well when he said, "Music, when the soft voices die, vibrates the memory." World Fiddle Day 2021 and myself are going to finish with two reels associated with Dennis Murphy and Dennis McMahon, with a little story for you. Back in 1966, Dennis bought this machine, a tape recorder, to go around to the various flats and tape the sessions and any new tune that was to be heard. And the second reel we're playing here was recorded on this machine in 1966 in Kilrush, played by Dennis Murphy, and it was recorded by the great Dennis McMahon. And the first reel we're playing is associated with the great Dennis Murphy, who played it on the visit from a flat in the Stone to Anne's house.
Hello everyone. I wish to thank PJ for inviting me back again this year to participate in the World Fiddle Day concert. I will now play two slides that Dennis McMahon and myself played together a number of years ago.
Conachur. Today I'm going to play two polkas for you. The first one is called Jack the Lighthouse and the second one is called Many a Wild Night. I got these from my grandfather, Connie O'Hanlon.
Well, happy World Fiddle Day, Scartaglin, everyone. Another year not being in Scartaglin, unfortunately, but sure, hopefully next year we'll be on the hallowed turf. The two tunes I'm going to play for you I got from a friend of mine, Dan Jeremiah O'Connor, from Knockinahoe, just outside Scartaglin. And I met Dan for the first time in the mid-90s, and these tunes are recorded in the year 2000 in October at the Patrick O'Keefe Festival. What I liked about the Patrick O'Keefe Festival was that they honoured local musicians as well as the more well-known musicians on the circuit, and we always sought out Dan's company. He was a man who could distill the complexities of life into some very simple sayings, and a day spent with him was a quick day, a short day. The last time I met Dan was in the year he passed away at the Willie Clancy Festival. Myself and a friend of mine, Frank, had gone out to Mulloch to get away from the crowds, and about 4 o'clock in the afternoon I see Dan's head sticking in the door, and we greeted him. He says, "Come on, Dan, and play a few tunes." And he said, "I've only a few old polkas and slides." But sure, we said, "Come on, tear away anyway." So we spent the afternoon playing polkas and slides and hornpipes and the odd reel and telling tall tales and supping pints, and it went all too quick really. But before he left, he tapped me on the knee and said, "Tom, if God made anything better than music, he sure kept it to himself." So to Dan Jeremiah O'Connor.
Tonight we celebrate the fiddle music of Dan Jeremiah O'Connor. Dan was born in Knockeenahone, Scartaglin on the 13th of March 1938. He was a pupil of the great fiddle master Padraig O'Keeffe. Dan was taught using the O'Keeffe tablature system of notation. I was lucky enough to grow up in Scartaglin in the heart of Sliabh Luachra, where I played lots of music with Dan in the local pubs. Dan's style wasn't fussy. It was simple and rhythmical, as he was used to playing for set dancers. He played beautiful rare slides and polkas. Dan has one official recording made in 2001 called Farmhouse Polkas and Reels, playing with Fred Brown and Mary O'Connell. In 2002, I was part of a musical trip with Dan to La Salle in the south of France, where we played and taught music. Dan was married to Margaret O'Connor. They have 16 children and 27 grandchildren. Dan sadly left us on the 27th of January 2009, leaving behind his valuable musical legacy. Dan's own children are gifted musicians and singers. Tonight we are delighted to welcome Dan's grandson, who will play the fiddle for us. James Hickey is the son of Eilidh O'Connor and Conor Hickey from Knocknagoshel. James's music teacher is Greta Curtin from Brosna. Playing two slides. These were recorded by Dan Jeremiah O'Connor and Ned Connor. The first one is called Mrs. O'Connor's Slide. She was a concertina player from Knockatee Cordal and the grandmother of Niall O'Connor, the accordion player. The second one then is called Jim Keefe's, and this is Johnny O'Leary's version. Thank you.
is that I really liked when I listened to recordings from the handed down archive of Dan Jeremiah. The first one is called O'Connor's Polka and the second one is called Jenny Lind.
Hi, I'd like to talk a little bit about a fiddle player from the Sliabh Luachra area who many people may not have heard of before. Her name is Josephine Galvin. She was born Josephine Reedy in Knockra or Scartaglin to John and Margaret Reedy. So Josephine was a student of Padraig O'Keeffe and learned tunes from him when he travelled to her home in the 1930s. She was also a relative of well-known fiddlers Patcheen and Willie O'Connell of Cordell. So she would have played a lot at biddy dances and house dances as a younger woman. And then she married Humphrey Galvin of Adderville in 1946 and they had one son, John. And from just a little bit of chatting with John, he says that he doesn't remember his mother playing that much in the family home as a boy, but her love of music was, so pronounced throughout her whole life. So I suppose due to family commitments and the social norms of the day, the likes of Josephine just did not have the opportunity to play outside of the home. And I suppose with the exception of a small number of those who recorded commercially, female musicians tended to be remembered as peripheral figures in the tradition. And this would not have been a true reflection of their musicianship or even the regard they would have been held at the time. So I suppose, unfortunately, not much was heard of Josephine's playing. And from looking at the copybook of tunes that John donated to the World Fiddle Day Scartaglin archive, it's very clear that O'Keeffe, who would have written all the tunes out for her in his own unique tablature, gave her a number of unusual tunes, more difficult tunes, and not just the usual standards, which would lead us to believe that she was quite a proficient musician. So Nicky McAuliffe on viewing the copybook presented to the archives, noted a couple of tunes that he found to be quite unusual, and one in particular which he had never come across. So it's called Scottish. It's a barn dance fling, and it's now being taught to Sliabh Luachra learners by Anne McAuliffe, which is wonderful to see that tune is back into the repertoire after many, many years. So I suppose Josephine also would have had a good friend that she would have communicated with in England. Her name was Kate Horan from Doreen. She spent time in England as a young woman, so from looking at correspondence between the two, they would have wrote each other some of the tunes and sent them across to learn as young women. So she passed away, unfortunately, on the January 1st, 2001, aged 86. And as part of World Fiddle Day 2021, I'd like to play the Scottish that she once would have played, we presume, and dedicated to her memory.
These three were recorded by Bodge O'Keefe on Kerry Fiddles. The first one's called the Glantown Frolics, and the second one is called the Heron Choir.
Good evening. My name is Noelle Barrett. I'm from Kerry, outside Tralee, a place called Ballyroe. I've been asked this evening to speak to you about Pádraig O'Keeffe. I recently completed my studies in Trinity College and did my Masters on Pádraig O'Keeffe. My earliest memory of Pádraig was hearing him in the car when travelling to Fiddle and Ballymackelliget with my mother. I was struck by the playing, not knowing who this person was who was playing. I asked my mum, why am I so emotional? What was it? What is it? She said to me, Noelle, he's playing from his soul. I said, Mum, but how do you play from your soul? She said, listen to the music. Years later, this has stayed with me. And it is what drove me to go back and to write my thesis dissertation on Pádraig and on his teaching style and everything that was in the man that came through. Pádraig was born in 1887 in Glounthaune. His father was the headmaster of the local school in Glounthaune, and his mother was Margaret O'Callaghan of Doonasloe, a little town outside Kishkane. The Callaghans were an exceptionally musical family. His grandmother played the concertina and the fiddle, and his uncle was Cal Callahan, a renowned and well-known fiddle player. It is thought that Pádraig's summers in Doon helped shape his musical style and helped shape his playing style and performance style. Such an influence was huge in his life. In later years, Pádraig became master in Glounthaune, taking his father's place as headmaster of the school. This wasn't Pádraig's calling. His graw, his love was in the fiddle and was for playing fiddle, for performing and for teaching fiddle. It was greater than his love for teaching. So he ceased teaching in Glounthaune and he began teaching fiddle at home in Glounthaune, in his home. He became a sought-after teacher in the Sliabh Luachra region and probably further afield. He became known as the fiddle master. Many of the participants whom I interviewed in my study spoke to me about how Pádraig taught them. As I play it, you play it. He modelled the tune for them first. This was a common thread throughout my interviews. He also encouraged them to play slowly. He wanted this tune to speak to them. When I interviewed Maida McQuinn, now Maida Shukru, his past pupil, she spoke of how Pádraig would come to their house, perhaps late in the evening, the children may be in bed, and she remembered hearing him downstairs by the settle, speaking with her mother as she prepared maybe a meal that evening, and he would always choose to play slow airs. This was his choice. Perhaps it was a reflection of his solitary life, or maybe it was just time to reflect, or maybe playing these slow airs reinforced his style. All the participants that spoke to me spoke about his bowing style. This is written about broadly also. He taught this first, the bowing. Once you had the bowing right, you could move on. It was unique to Pádraig. His bowing style was unique. His phrasing, the long bow, an extension of his soul, some might say. It was beautiful, it was distinctive, and you can't help but be moved by it when listening to his playing. He had a magical ingredient, an otherworldly ingredient, sometimes referred to as driocht. O'Keeffe collected, preserved, and promoted tunes and encouraged pride in and engagement with the unique culture and tradition associated with the music of Sliabh Luachra and County Kerry. He came up with an ingenious way of noting his tunes. It was sheer common sense. It was called a code. Using 4 lines for each string and the numbers for the fingers, along with bowing directives that were simple, up bow, down bow. It was a simple and easy way to ensure that his tunes that he composed, Kerry tunes, other tunes, to ensure they were passed on in his style of playing, his unique style, Pádraig O'Keefe's style, which would later become known as the Sliabh Luachra style. He was using this as a method of passing on tunes, and he wanted to deliver a set of directives which would inform a pupil and notes of the tune in his style. He knew the value of that. It struck me during my participant interviews how, when answering a lot of the questions I asked, the answers were beyond words. They had to play for me, to show me, and to truly give justice to their answer. And without knowing it, I suppose they were passing on, as Pádraig did, through the as I do, you do, as I play, you play. They had to instruct me by playing. In a conversation I had with Father Pádraig Ahern, I asked him, what is it to be a teacher of music, the fiddle, a teacher of the fiddle? And he said to me, the highest reward you can get as a teacher is that your idea or your ambition or love for what you are imparting, that it transcends the distance and you catch it at the other side. This was true of Pádraig O'Keefe. O'Keefe's modesty in performing and in teaching and of passing on music and passing on the Kerry tunes and the tunes he wrote and all tunes, it was a unique method of transmission and was transmitted in a purposeful way. In terms of his legacy, I suppose his huge contribution to the preservation of the music of Sliabh Luachra and of Kerry tunes was the music that continues to be played and transmitted today by his pupils and now a wider diaspora. So much is known about Kerry tunes, Sliabh Luachra style, and Pádraig O'Keefe because his pupils told it. They told his story, they told his way. His legacy was the fiddle master. But what is a fiddle master without his pupil? The person is the purpose, and Pádraig O'Keefe's purpose was the music, and its future was his pupils, and he knew that. Perhaps he endeavoured to teach the unteachable, using his tablature or his code as an aid and a guide for his students. The one thing that could not be written was Pádraig's soul.
We're going to play two tunes for you. The first one is a slow air that we learned from the playing of Pádraig O'Keefe called The Bank of the Danube. The second one is a jig that I got from a recording of the great Kerry fiddle player Molly Myers Murphy, who learned from Tom Billy Murphy. And a big thank you to PJ Tehan for forwarding that recording to me.
One of the highlights of World Fiddle Day in Scartaglin is the photo taken at the Patrick O'Keeffe Monument. The first time I went back was in 2015, and I didn't know too many people going back, but I had seen the photo from the monument from 2014, and I thought I better go back and join this crowd. My son Oni as well, Owen, he was learning the fiddle at the time, and I thought I might encourage him, or I'm still trying to encourage him, or not discourage him. I also brought my son Charlie. He was only like he wasn't even a year old, but luckily a nice lady offered to mind him while we just stood in for the picture. There was fiddlers coming out of everywhere, and we were all gathered around. And I remember PJ saying, asking everyone to take a few seconds to think about the fiddlers who had given us the music, and the ones that passed away. And that's kind of a special moment. Then I remember Connie Connell being asked to start the tune, and he played The Lark in the Morning, and everyone tore into it, and it was brilliant, whatever about seeing like the string section in an orchestra, the fiddlers tearing into a really great tune. It's like it's like something elemental, like a force of nature or something, kind of like seeing a murmuration. It's such a brilliant thing. Anyway, I love looking back at that old photo, and I love seeing Oni with his fiddle, and great memories of World Fiddle Day.
First of all, it is very appropriate to know that in honour of Patrick O'Keeffe, that at that particular time there was a local committee, and there was much fundraising, and a lot of assistance came from Ted Kinney. He was over in London at the time, and that gave a great incentive to the local people to match his funding, and there was really great intentions, and it gives a recognition to O'Keeffe and his music, and I think it represents as well all his pupils and all the musicians around the Sliabh Luachra area who would be very much in that tradition, of course, and it is a wonderful edifice to have in his honour. And on the day of the occasion of it, then it is certainly a great delight for all those musicians to play in front of the great man himself, to be there at that, and the stage itself, which was that has been used as a dancing stage to coincide with the music, and I'd be hopeful that would be revived again, the dancing aspect, which that platform is actually was set up for that purpose, and hopefully that will continue into the future.
When I see the gathering at the monument in Scartaglin on World Fiddle Day, and the tradition, the by now traditional photograph, I think back on the times that I remember being a young fella, and I think Con Hoolan was involved in it, in the collecting of money to create a monument to Patrick O'Keefe in Scartaglin, because Con Hoolan and Patrick would have been good pals. And Mike Kenny's involvement then came much later on, and Mike Kenny's involvement then saw it through to fruition to the 1983 and that great night we had above in Scartaglin and for the unveiling of the monument. And I remember Terry Costehan, your uncle, and a gang of them, John Joe Tangney, the Audrey, the Dr. Mercenham, and a gang of them sitting down playing music around the monument that night. And Mike Kinney and a couple of friends of his from the art school in Dublin at the time, and myself, we went to Scott the following day, or the following Sunday morning. And Mike had to go up, of course, to make sure that there was nothing wrong with the monument again, even though it had been unveiled at the time, and he was looking at it and picking at it and looking at this and looking at that and said, geez, I could have done that better now. And we went away into Tom Fleming's after, and I don't remember much about we celebrated. It was a wonderful time. And that's what I remember when I see the crowd gathering around it. And the important thing about it, I suppose, when you see that crowd of people gathering around it, there's none of them that aren't aware of O'Keefe and his legacy.
The fiddle recital is the highlight of World Fiddle Day, Scartaglin. It's an unusual, possibly unique event, so I'd like to tell you a little bit about it. It's not a concert, nor is it a session, but it has some of the best features of both. Here's how it works. The idea is to come up with a set of tunes, always from the local repertoire, and to make them available in the form of tune transcriptions and audio links well in advance of the festival, so that people have a chance to learn them and then to play them on the day itself. There's a different theme each year. It might be the music of a particular musician, or tunes from a private session recording, something like that. So anyway, the tunes are put out there and people can practice them for a few months, and then on World Fiddle Day everyone gathers in one of the pubs in Scartaglin at the appointed time, and they play all the tunes together, led by a guest musician or musicians. Now, because it's World Fiddle Day, it is, of course, a fiddlers only event, though occasionally the guest musician might be a non-fiddler, such as a few years ago we got Jackie Daly to lead the tunes when the theme was his album with Seamus Cray. Also, of course, listeners are welcome if they can find a bit of room for themselves. Now, you don't really have to be a virtuoso fiddler, you just have to be able to get through the tunes. And typically there'd be maybe 30 other fiddlers in the room with you, so you'd have plenty of cover if you need it. Now, because it's pre-planned, there's a coherence, a level of quality about the material. But instead of passively listening, people are actively participating in the performance. And that's the point. It's to get these tunes back in circulation, to get them played, to keep them alive. Having them archived is all very well, and we do that too. But this is all about a living tradition. Now, I'm not a fiddler myself. My job is making the tunes available. Once the tunes have been selected, I transcribe them from the recording in staff notation, just basic playable settings. And PJ Tian provides audio links to the World Fiddle Day SoundCloud page. Then we post the tunes one at a time on the World Fiddle Day Facebook page, well in advance of the festival, as I said. And then when all the tunes have been posted, I assemble them into a booklet, which is then available to download via a link, again on the festival's Facebook page. Now, here's one I made earlier. You don't have to print it, but if you do, it's designed to be printed on both sides. You can spiral bind it so it opens out flat, as well as the tunes and staff notation. Because it's not all just about the notes, we also have some text, illustrations, photographs, that kind of thing. More photographs there. So the booklets are available on the World Fiddle Day website. Now, some of the audio links may have expired, but don't worry, you can still access the music, because the sessions from which those tunes came are available to listen to on the World Fiddle Day website. And wherever we've referenced a commercial recording, such as the topic series of music from Sliabh Luachra, well, those are readily available to buy. So that's the World Fiddle Day fiddle recital for you. I think it's a hugely important cultural activity, but it's also great fun. And nobody in that room is there because they've been forced to. They're in there playing tunes and enjoying themselves. And let's hope we can all enjoy such things again soon. Cheers.
These are two slides from the playing of Julia Clifford, and they were played at the recital in 2016 on World Fiddle Day as part of the tribute to Julia. The first slide is a version of one of the Desmond polkas, and the second is a slide version of the old torn petticoat reel, which Julia called the old worn petticoat. I'd like to say thanks to PJ for asking me to play, and also big thanks for all he's done for Sliabh Luachra Tradition.
These are 3 slides that we learned from the playing of Dan Jeremiah O'Connor. The first 2 of them can be heard on recordings of him in the Handed Down archive. We're delighted to play them today for World Fiddle Day.
Hi everyone, my name's Zia Murphy. I'm delighted to be playing some music for you today. Big thanks to PJ for asking me to come along. Today I'm going to be playing 2 sides for you. The first one is the Ratman and the second one is the Hare and the Corn, which of course we're very well known for playing down in Scully's. So hope you enjoy.
Sinead O'Connor, and I'm from Cullen, County Cork. I'd like to thank PJ for inviting me to play for World Fiddle Day. I'm going to play Tom Billy's number 1. I learned this tune from the album The Star of the Garter. This tune was played by Dennis Murphy and Julia Clifford.
Hello everyone, my name is Caoimhe Flannery and I'm from Rockchapel in County Cork. I'm delighted to be part of World Fiddle Day 2021. I'm going to play 2 polkas, John Brosnan's and The Rambling Sailor.
Hello.
Hello.
Could you tell me your name?
I'm Martin O'Connell. Yeah, Martin O'Connell from Bordal, Nestle Bordal.
What fiddle did you have when you were starting out playing fiddle?
The fiddle I had was belonged to my father actually, because he played it well and he was taught by Padre O'Keefe. years before that, you know. And that was the fiddle we had at that time, anyway, you know. But Paddy was a regular part of the team, you know. So and that's why I got interested in it, like. And then as time went on, they gave me a few lessons and things, you know. And I had a turn for it, but I don't know. But unfortunately, he died in '63.
Yeah.
And when we were just getting really going, like, you know. Yeah. But that's why that happened. But he was a great gentleman. You know, when you call it our house, like, he'd sit down and a cup of tea. My mother would be talking to him and so on. He'd, after he went look for a leaf book of a copy book there, and some wanted to go on to school, and he might want a ruler, you know, draw straight lines. Yeah. So then he'd get his paper, put on the table, and he'd draw 5 lines and put the name of the tune. He'd start writing in figures. In the right proper lines. And the 5 lines, you would 4 spaces in between, represented the 4 strings of the fiddle. And it's very simple and straightforward, like, you know. You would sing from up bar, you would sing down bar, all under one bar, or singles. And so that he made it pretty simple enough. And he was always trying to the easier way for the fiddle. Don't want it essentially this way. We were kind of going that way, but he wasn't trying to look with your hand this way, over the strings, so you could go up this way. Good enough, you know. But that's it. He was on and trying to make sure we kept the bow on each whatever string we should be on, and that. And but it was a straightforward enough system, fairly unique as what maybe might be. But that was the general run of that, you know. Sean, what age do you now?
I'm 14 now.
Yeah, what age did you start playing?
8 or 9.
Yeah, and had you always an interest, or was it the fiddle you had an interest, or what instrument?
We had my grandfather's fiddle there, so we did, and I suppose that was just an instrument we had handy. So we started off with a smaller fiddle. I got lessons from Anne.
All right, yeah.
What age were you when you started?
I reckon that I'd be probably, I'd say around 10, and I got an interest. My father was taught by the Paddy, and that's why I got interested in it when he was playing, and I started go that age, like. But and in times there were no phones or anything, so to get someone, you know, to contact was a bigger problem, and to arrange meeting was a bigger bother. But they were pre-arranged then, and you know, sometimes it worked out, and more times there was something happening. You know, he mightn't be able to call. You know, it was a bit scattered, a bit like, but still, it was very interesting how what he was talking about. Till the time he passed away. So I reckon that I was about 15 then, you know, and when he died, Patrick died, I didn't take it as serious then anymore, you know. It was a mistake, like, but that's the way I go and stick with it, like, you know. And I made that mistake, like, you know. I should have kept with it, like, you know. But then I stopped walking probably a year later or something, or whatever. and mechanical work and all that, like, so it took a lot of time, night and day. So that's what happened, you know.
And what tunes would your father have been playing?
They got the tunes that Patrick taught him, of course. But there was one there that I'm trying to think of actually. You know, I think that.
And what kind of a man was Patrick O'Keefe like?
Tall, slim man. Always, I've never seen him without a cap. He always wore a cap. And if the weather was bad, and when he was coming to our house, the dogs had barked probably, maybe, you know, and we would look out, and this Patrick was coming, and an overcoat thrown over his shoulder.
And what kind of personality did he have?
Very, very nice personality, very much pure gentleman like.
Right.
You would know that he was you know that he was an educated man, like, you know, and very respectful. You know, no, never foul language, nothing. No, really, really very professional man. As always when I met him anyway, you know. And my father always said the same. That, by God, he said Patrick gave great value for whatever he got, you know, as well. And he was a great man, because now when we were dealing with young people and that, he was talking to my mother a lot and that, because she was the one that could talk to him about a lot of things in the world, even, you know, as such. But he was a great man to talk, like, you know.
Yeah.
And because when he turned to us, then, like, young ones, that was, I didn't have a sister older than me. She was learning for a while, and a sister younger, but got some lessons as well, but didn't continue either on them. So the eldest girl, which was Bridie, she has children, of course, now grown up as well, as willing to play music, you know. But and because
my brother Dennis, good banjo player, and his daughters good musicians as well, you know. So to the all coming, I think, from Padraig and my father, that line, you know what I mean? So that's the, but he, as you say, you asked me what kind of a man he was, a gentleman.
I'm after learning the tune you gave me now, so.
Oh, right on, John. Can I think of the tune I gave you? Right there, right there.
Hi everyone, my name is Shauna Bradley from a Farnham in Dublin. Happy World Fiddle Day to everyone watching and to PJ and everyone in Scartaglin. I want to thank PJ for inviting me to play. I was delighted, and hopefully I'll see you all next year in person. So I'm going to play 2 slides, Dennis Murphy's and Going to the Well for Water.
think with the last 30 years, there's great progress is being made again in the revival. And immigration definitely was harmful for a long time. You know, there was more music over in the heart of London or New York or Boston or Chicago than there was in the locality. But now I think it's all coming home again.
The immigration of musicians from the Sliabh Luachra area and its impact on the music at home and abroad is a fascinating topic, one that I've just started to scratch the surface of myself in recent inquiries. I was delighted to look into it a little further when asked to share my own experiences of immigration and the music for this year's World Fiddle Day. And when I realised the scope of the topic, I was also delighted that I was asked to limit this video to about 3 minutes or so. So I'll share a few brief thoughts with you now. Historically, many musicians would have immigrated out of necessity, looking for employment that just wasn't available to them at home, and certainly not as a working musician. And while that would have been seen as a big loss in the area to have a musician leaving, it wasn't all bad news, because if we go way back to Cal O'Callaghan in the 1800s there in Ohio, he would have picked up many tunes from the Scots fiddlers he was associated with, and he would have brought many of those tunes back with him. And who knows the tunes that are staples today in the area that we would never have only for immigration. And then on the other side, there's great advantages to the music in the place where people immigrated to as well. And there's some very famous examples on the map there, like Curtin and Julia Clifford in London, or if you go to Chicago as a great example, where you had Terry Cuz Tehan, and when Maida Shugru came following that, and they got to know each other, they both brought on the inspiration to get the music going together over there, and played a lot more and spread the music all through Chicago. And there's a thriving traditional Irish music scene in Chicago that they were a huge part of building, and their influence is still very strong over there to this day. It was very interesting recently as well to hear the impact that Terry Cuz Tehan had on modern musicians in Chicago, such as the great Liz Carroll, who in a recent workshop that Niamh Ní Cara did for us over here online, she mentioned how Liz would have been very much encouraged by Cuz Tehan to be composing. So all the great tunes that she has composed in her time, and that Cuz Tehan himself composed, but I guess that's another impact that the immigration has had, a fantastic impact, to have all those wonderful tunes built up, and only for Cuz and Maida Shugru, and building that strong community in Chicago, we'd never have that music now. And then if we think about Dennis Murphy in New York, I read recently on the sleeve of his album, the Blue Album, a quote attributed to Dennis of his time working around New York in various jobs over the 10 years or so he was there. He said something like, you'd have to mind the work, you'd have to be minding the work and minding the music, and it's very hard to be minding the both of them. And I think that's the other side of it as well, is that oftentimes those musicians who did immigrate to find employment and opportunity, and often you could find yourself so busy with that that you might end up not playing as much as you'd like, or the music might suffer because you're focused on your new employment and your new opportunities work-wise. There's a comfort in the music that can settle the homesickness a lot, and people over here in Japan have shown such an enthusiasm and appreciation for the music of Sliabh Luachra, and a curiosity and a hunger for it, that it's really inspired me to get reconnected with the music that I learned growing up in NAD, and to go and get deeper into it and start learning more and more. So in that way, I think that it's a funny way where sometimes when you leave a place and you immigrate away from something, that's when you can end up having an even deeper appreciation for it. So that's mainly down to the interest and the curiosity and the encouragement of the Irish music community here in Japan. That's very strong at the moment, and only getting stronger. So I'm very grateful to have been a part of that over the last 6 years. And I hope you'll enjoy the video coming up as part of the World Fiddle Day, that has many of the gang over here involved in it too. So that's all for now, and have a wonderful World Fiddle Day, everyone. Hello, and thanks to PJ for inviting us to be part of this year's World Fiddle Day. We have many great fiddlers in to join us from all over the Far East, playing a few tunes associated with Tom Billy Murphy. So the first polka, we're going to play two polkas, and the first one is commonly known as the Ballydesmond polka, and we all know that, and we've been working on getting a nice swing into our polka playing over here. And the second one we learned recently, and it's called Tom Billy's. So I hope you enjoy it.
1,
2,
3. Hi, my name is Shane Crane. I'm 17 years old. I'm from Chicago, and this is my grandpa Con Toomey from Tralee Road in Castle Island. We're going to talk a little bit about Carrie musicians who played in Chicago. So, Granddad, when you first came to the United States, what musicians from Carrie do you remember playing in the Chicago area?
Well, I came in the 50s, and the musicians that hit the headlines in Chicago would have been Cos Tehan, Frank Thornton, Timmy Clifford, Maida Shukru was a great singer, and Stanley Doyle with the accordion. And we used to look forward to every weekend to the dances. There was a big dance at a place called the Keeman's Club on West Chicago. In the south side there was Carpenter's Hall. In the north side there was the Holiday Ballroom. So all of us at the time, young fellas, looked forward to the weekend, to the dances, and that was our outlook for the week.
That got you through the work week?
It got us through the work week for sure.
And well, I want to go back to Maida Shukru because I think she's one of Prodigal Keefe's last living pupils. I think she is Prodigal Keefe's last living pupil, and I got to play with Maida a good few times at the Irish American Heritage Center on the north side in Chief O'Neill's pub. She played on stage with my music school, the Shepherd School of Irish Music. So I learned to slide from her as well, actually, and you know I got to learn a little bit about Padraig from her, and that was really special. And as well, Cos Tehan, he's very well known in the Chicago music community. Everybody loves Cos, and he left us a good few tunes. I know I play a few slides and polkas named after him, and so the musicians from that area had a big impact on the way that traditional music's played in Chicago today. And there's a few of us, myself included, my two friends my age, Aileen Godley and Liam Godley. Aileen plays the fiddle and Liam plays the bowron. Their dad's from Ballymac. And then my friends Joe and Liam Shine. Joe plays the concertina and Liam plays the flute and the pipes. And their family's from North Kerry. And we all kind of bond over that same shared experience of being from Kerry musicians and listening to that growing up in the house. And we try to keep that tradition going as much as we can in Chicago because the music of Sliabh Luachra and the music of Kerry is very special and very distinct. And we're all proud that our families are from there, and so we try to keep that tradition going and encourage it because it's a very special thing to have.
Very good. Very good, Shane.
Hi, my name is Shane Crane. I'm 17. I'm from the south side of Chicago. And for World Fiddle Day, I'm going to play an air that I learned from a recording of Padraig O'Keefe called Lament for O'Donnell after Kinsale.
Alright, I'm going to play The Geese in the Bog, a jig, followed by 2 slides, Mom's Favourite and Smash the Windows. Sinead, thank you.
Hi, my name is Maureen Peschel, and this is my daughter, Colleen Freeman.
Hey everyone, thanks for having us. We are here in Bellingham, Washington, USA, originally from the New York area, and we are descendants of the Murphys, also known as the Wavers, from Lachine, County Kerry.
Taddy Murphy was my mother's father, Colleen's great-grandfather, and he and his brother Dan were the first of the Murphys to emigrate to the States.
So we've both been playing fiddle for a number of years, but we've only recently realized just how well known and well respected the Murphys were in the fiddling community in Ireland as well as New York, in particular Dennis and Julia.
When I was a kid, there was a fiddle in the house, and my mother loved to brag about how the Irish music was in our blood, and she so hoped that one of the 6 of us would show an interest in playing the fiddle. She liked to also brag a lot about the famous Murphys, and I never really made any real connection because I had never met any of them or even really heard any of their music. But she did tell us often stories about how she would go with her dad to the pubs in New York City, and while he fiddled, she would do her step dancing. Unfortunately, when Taddy was 35, he passed away from pneumonia, and my mom was only 9. So the Irish music didn't have a chance of being passed down. I took classical music for a few years, but I lost interest in it because for me it just wasn't very much fun. My mom and my dad tried to find me an Irish fiddle teacher, but there just wasn't one in our area, so I put the fiddle down. Years later, one of my sisters rescued that fiddle from a yard sale. My mom had put a $50 price tag on my violin.
Yeah, so after that, my mom kept that fiddle pretty close, and she kept it under her bed, where my brother found it when he was about 4, and he was very interested in learning how to play it, so he started taking lessons. And I, being an admiring younger sister, wanted to do everything that he did, so I started taking lessons as well. And we both did the Suzuki method, so classical music. And a few years into it, we were both about ready to quit. And we got lucky and found a young kid. He was in high school at the time. He was also a classical player, but he had just gone to Ireland for a visit. And so he became our teacher, and he taught us these 2 tunes that he brought back from Ireland, Apples in Winter and Craig's Pipes.
And I had been to that lesson when Colleen and Will her brother, were learning these Irish tunes that he brought back from Ireland. And it was such an emotional moment for me that I could feel that this was the real Irish music. This is what I had been searching for. This is what I wanted my children to learn, and that the music really was in the blood.
Yeah, fiddle music really did speak to us, and we were rejuvenated and continued fiddling and looking for teachers to teach us fiddle music. And along the way, there was a friend who recommended this book to us, not knowing that we had any connection to it, and it's Matt Cranitch's book, The Irish Fiddle Book. And flipping through it, there's some full-page pictures of Padraig O'Keeffe and Dennis Murphy and Julia Clifford, among others. And I remember being struck by how much Julia looked like my Nana. And it really brought it home. It was like, this is real. Nana wasn't exaggerating. These people are in a book. They're famous. Julia is also in another book that was published much more recently. It's called Trad Nation, and there's a whole chapter on her in here. And my friend Kaylee gave it to me for my birthday, and she organizes some festivals here in Bellingham, and she asked me and my mom to give a presentation on Julia, about her and her life, using some of the information from this book and other sources. And so we did that, and it was so cool to delve into her life and learn more about where we come from and where this music comes from, and just how special and important it is. So the overarching point of all of this is that thousands of miles away, a few generations removed, these 2 Murphy descendants, at least, are still very much stone mad for music, and we are very grateful and honored to be a part of continuing this tradition. So thanks for having us.
Thank you.
Hello everyone, I'm Colleen, and this is my mom Maureen, and we're here in Bellingham, Washington, We are very grateful to PJ for reaching out to us and inviting us to play for this World Fiddle Day Scartaglin celebration.
We are the descendants of the Murphy family. My grandfather was Timothy Murphy, otherwise known as Taddy, would have been Colleen's great-grandfather. And he's the older brother to Dennis Murphy and Julia Clifford. And he actually taught Julia her very first tune as a little girl, was called The Duck and the Oats.
And we're going to play 3 tunes for you today. I'm going to start with a lament called O'Donnell's Lament, and then we're going to go into polkas, the Bally Desmond number 3, we think, and Dennis Murphy's.
everybody. I'm going to play a couple of jigs which I got from my mother, Julia, and she named these tunes. First jig is called Build the Waivers, which was her father, my grandfather, and the second tune she called it Paddy Lines. Paddy Lines is, I think it might be related to the Butcher's March, I'm not sure. How's that?
Hello everybody, very glad again to be invited to the World Fiddle Day in Scartaglin by PJ. Thank you PJ. I'm going to play two little slip jigs that are associated with Julie Clifford. The first one is called The Dusty Miller and the second one is called Julie Clifford's. Thanks to all who organised World Fiddle Day. It's a great event and it's a great celebration of Sliabh Luachra music, and I'm very glad to be a part of it. Thanks again. God bless everyone. Bye bye.
And happy World Fiddle Day. I'm just going to play a few tunes here with the lads. What are you doing with the banjo?
John?
God, it's World Fiddle Day.
Just go and play a tune on it.
Yeah.
World Fiddle Day.
Do something about that. Right. Bang. There, that's better.
Wow.
Now, you get a couple of points
Wow.
as well.
Nice fiddle.
It would be great with polkas. So I suppose it'd be nice to. Can we try a few reels?
Jeez, we could, of course. Yeah. Or jigs or hornpipes or anything at all.
Are you sure?
Yeah. Remember we had a great tune, Kevin, down from Clare. He came down from Clare. They were in
Okay.
from everywhere. Yeah.
You might chance maybe a few off the handed down archive. I think say the Skylark from Rowan Mary.
Oh, lovely, yeah.
In Kinmare Sessions.
Yeah, in Kinmare Sessions.
Yeah, and sure, I might put the one before it there. One Summer's Morning. The Dougie MacLean.
Love that
tune
off the Fiddle album. Lovely tune.
Yeah. Well, see you next year. See you next year. Hopefully. Yeah.
Greetings to PJ and to all in Scartaglin for your World Fiddle Day festival again this year. Unfortunately, it won't make it down, and hopefully we'll see you during the year. I'll play two reels, Mayor Harrison's Fedora and the Spike Island Lassies. Thank you.
Thank you. Hello PJ, thank you for the invitation to take part in Scartaglin's World Fiddle Day celebrations again this year and to play music influenced by Johnny Cronin. I've chosen 3, a jig and 2 reels. The jig is known locally, I think, as the Goat in the Green, also as the Humours of Dingle, and I think it is also associated with Paddy Cronin. It's put down to Paddy's jig sometimes too. The reels I'll follow it with then are ones that Johnny was very famous for playing, the Farewell to Ireland and one by Martin Wynne. And the Martin Wynne one, he put a lovely little twist of his own, as he called it, into the first couple of bars of it that I think made it a very nice and interesting change. And I remember him telling me in 78 or 79 that he felt he was almost as good as Michael Coleman for twisting tunes around. So here's The Goat in the Green, Farewell to Ireland, and Martin Wynne's.
Hello everyone, and thanks a million for inviting me to take part in World Fiddle Day. It's a privilege to have been asked, and congratulations to everyone involved. I'm going to play 2 tunes that were recorded by Paddy Cronin for Seamus Ennis for Radio Éireann in 1949. And these were Paddy Cronin's audition tracks, so thankfully and obviously he went on to pass his audition and he recorded lots more for Ennis later on. So these now are my attempt at Paddy Cronin's versions of the Munster Jig and Tell Her I Am.
everybody. Very happy World Fiddle Day to everybody. Hello, Con. And fair play to PJ and the committee for organising as usual. And I'm delighted to be involved. So today, myself and my uncle Con, we're going to talk about the Cronins from Raybui. So I'm going to start by asking Con, how did you first come in contact with the Cronins?
So I suppose my first connection with the Cronins, Aidan, is that they were local heroes. They were obviously fantastic musicians, all of the Cronins. Paddy, Johnny, and also Mick, a great concert flute player, and Hannah was a lovely singer as well. So I suppose growing up around Gilvilla, you know, they were literally only up the road. Now, Dennis Murphy and Jula, I suppose, were my first introduction to fiddle playing, in the sense that the Star Above the Garter was in the house and was constantly being played. In fact, I think we burnt the first one out, we got scratched, and we got a second Star Above the Garter. It was the only album we had two of. That was 1969, and then in 1977, I suppose my first heard Paddy Cronin, that album, Kerry's Own Paddy Cronin, which is fabulous music and which influenced me hugely. And the very same year, Johnny Cronin then produced his album with Joe Banjo Burke, and I suppose they were my reference points for fiddle music around there. There was also a family connection as well, in that Paddy Johnny's first cousin Hannah Mary Cronin was married to my uncle Mick, so they were constant visitors to the house with stories about the Cronins and the McDinneys, as we used to call them, around Guineaville. But there was great affection for them, and great, I think my father played music himself, played the accordion, and he loved the Cronins and loved playing with them, and I think having a drink with them when they were on holidays and stuff like that.
What kind of tunes would you associate with the Cronins?
Well, as I said, I suppose from Paddy's album, I associate, I suppose, the reels and the jigs and the hornpipes that Paddy played, and the tremendous style of playing that Paddy had. With Johnny, I associate more the polkas, the slides, the dance music. I think when Paddy travelled, he met other influences, and he took on those other influences and embellished those and came back better. Whereas Johnny was the guy I think was preferred more around Guineaville for set dancing and for house dances and stuff like that. He had more of a heart and drive of traditional polkas and slides and stuff like that. So that's not to say that Johnny didn't play really good reels and jigs as well. He played superbly, especially on that album and elsewhere I've heard him. But I suppose I was lucky, Aidan, in that in 1987, as a first year in college, university, I went to the States, and I went to Boston, where I had a couple of aunts living, and that was my first time actually meeting Paddy in person, because he came all the way over to the house. At that stage, Paddy was living out in, I can't think of the name where he was now, Needham or Dedham, one of those, and he came in, my aunts were in Quincy, and he came to the house with the fiddle, played, and we had a lovely evening. And that year as well, 87, I took the trip on my own, which was kind of daft at the time maybe, up to New York to meet Johnny Cronin. And I met Johnny in the Starting Gate pub, I think it was, in Woodside in Queens. He was playing with another Johnny Cronin, Johnny from Ahado, an accordion player. And I remember walking into the bar and hearing this fantastic music, two boys playing together. And I spent a few days with Johnny and Maureen Glynn, and it was lovely. He made a tape for me, his hospitality, his humour. I really enjoyed him. And unfortunately then he died not too long after that, so I never got a chance to meet him again. I wasn't aware at the time, that was my only chance to meet Johnny. Paddy came back to live in Killarney obviously, so we had lots of opportunities to play with Paddy, you know.
Would you play some tunes associated with Johnny then, please?
Yeah, no problem at all. There's something now. Yeah, I suppose on that album that I just mentioned there, Aidan, there's a set of polkas. He calls the first one Liam Brown's. Now, I know, like lots of these tunes, they get called after some guy who just requested a tune always. So Liam Brown, I understood after, was just a friend of his who came from Barradove. And he plays Liam Brown's, as he called it, followed by As I Went Out Upon the Ice. I played another one before it, and when Johnny Leary used to play polka that he kind of has a third part in, which is quite unusual. A lot of people only play two parts, so I stick those couple of polkas together, and kind of the music I associate with Johnny.
stuff, Con. Really,
Thanks,
really
Stephen.
nice. Some nice slides, particularly on the C's there, the C naturals. We might talk about them later on, just in terms of the technical side of things. And then Paddy, then you would have played quite a lot with Paddy later in life when he moved back.
Yeah, we were very fortunate that Paddy decided to settle in Kerry and in Killarney more particularly. I suppose I was playing there in the Grand Hotel with Dennis O'Connor and banjo and Garo Deneen, guitar player. And Paddy quite regularly called into us. He used to ramble in, we'd have started a session, he'd play with us, and then quite often he'd play for us as well, which was lovely. We loved to listen to Paddy, and I always reckoned Paddy with a good guitar player was just a fantastic listen. So himself and Garo Deneen, I think, were a lovely combination, and it would be lovely just to hear him play his own stuff for a while, and enjoy his humour as well. Paddy's, great crack, great old stories and great sense of humour and great laugh and all that kind of stuff too. I think most people recognise anyone who knew him, so we'd love to see him coming in. And I visited his house as well on numerous occasions, and so it was nice at that time with Paddy, I suppose.
Would you play something that you associate with Paddy, please?
Yeah, no problem. I suppose as a kid growing up, there was a set of hornpipes on that album I mentioned earlier, and that was the Bastful Bachelor and Reeves, and they're two lovely. They really caught my imagination as a kid. Maybe because the fourth string going down those low notes, that wouldn't have been too familiar playing with accordion players and stuff around at the time. So I'll try those two hornpipes that Paddy plays on his album.
Fabulous stuff, Con. Really enjoyed that. Just noticed something there. I suppose my personal connection with Paddy and Johnny would be less than your own, but just in terms of the technical side of things, I did notice in the hornpipe, the first one, that there was sort of an emphasis on an up bow there on that note, And that's something I noticed in Paddy's playing now. It's I wouldn't claim to be to I suppose pontificate on the bowing of Paddy, but I suppose if you look at and for younger viewers particularly, if you look at some of the videos of Paddy Cronin playing on YouTube, actually you'll see some of this great flowing bow, and the up bow slur emphasis is there as well. So maybe in something like The Girl That Broke My Heart, it's obvious as well. That up bow sort of a pull. So I'm just going to play the tune twice, and just hopefully that'll maybe come out in it. I mean, Paddy had this kind of hypnotic pulse, so I think this up bow beat has something to do with it.
It's lovely, Aidan.
Thanks very much.
Aidan, can I just ask you, I suppose, your own personal memories of Paddy Cronin? I know you've met him quite a number of times. Unfortunately, you weren't in a position to meet Johnny. He passed away too young. But in terms of your own meeting Paddy and his company and that, you might just fill us in a bit.
Yeah, well, I was lucky that just through yourself, Con. I think I was around 11 or 12 or some around that age that you actually brought me to his home, and his wife Connie was around as well. They were very, very kind and gracious hosts, and Paddy was very encouraging. So that was my first memory of him. And then I suppose later on in my late teens, I suppose coming down and play tunes with yourself around Castleisland and Killarney, coincided with Paddy a few times as well, and visited his home again. And there was a session in the back room of Brown's Bar in Castleisland as well. That was magic. So I would have maybe all in all maybe 5 times come across him. I found him a nice gentleman every time that we met.
Okay, thanks, Aidan. And I know you've also heard an awful lot of Johnny Cronin's fiddle playing, other than that album which you referenced earlier with Joe Banjo Burke, you probably have heard a lot of other recordings and stuff of Johnny. Is there any particular set of tunes or any sort of rhythm? You mentioned the bowing rhythms of Paddy, but is there any particular style of Johnny's you want to talk to us about or play and demonstrate to us?
Yeah, well, I suppose we're very fortunate now with the handed down archive. The Sliabh Luachra music archive is fantastic. So there's been a good bit of Johnny's actually surfaced the last few years, fortunately. So it's not just the album that we have now. Yeah, and there's actually some stuff that I kind of heard in your own playing first, and then now that I listen back to Johnny's stuff, I can see the links. In particular, there's a kind of a moving note. Now this is in Paddy's music as well, but it's kind of hidden in Paddy's music, I think. But it's more obvious in Johnny's. It's a moving kind of C natural to C, not quite a C sharp. I suppose it's best to put it into a tune, maybe just like for example, there's a slide. So for example, so that there's actually a 1977 recording that Peter Brown did in Donoghue's Bar in Dublin of Johnny playing that tune, and that's in the archive now as well. So that's one thing. So I might just play that tune just to show that.
closer to home, written actually by Mr. Reevy, but learned from Paddy Cronin in 1973 when I met him at the Flaw in Listowel. And it's called, and I hope I can pronounce this halfway correctly, the Sean Vaghera reel. Thank you, Paddy Cronin. And God bless all of you and stay safe. God bless you all. Thank you.
I'm going to play two jigs that I learned from the playing of Paddy and Willie O'Connell of Cordle in Castleisland. And I recorded these tunes from Paddy and Willie many moons ago for a Long Note special on their music. And the Long Note was a radio programme on RTE Radio 1, and it finished around 1992. I was reliably informed recently by Nicky McAuliffe that the first tune was actually composed by Jimmy McHugh from Glasgow, and he called it Courtown Harbour. But this is Willie's version.
Hi everyone, thanks to PJ and his committee for inviting us to be part of World Fiddle Day.
So we're going to play two polkas that I learned from my dad. We used to play these polkas at home. Many of you might know my late father, the late Jerry McCarthy. He's from Scartaglin, a townland there between Scartaglin and Castleisland. He was a pupil of Pádraig O'Keeffe and great fiddle player. So we're going to play these polkas in memory of a good pal of James, Cathal Clooney. Cathal was 15 and he passed away very recently, and he was from County Laois. And he had a great love of farming, but he also had a great love of traditional music. And he played many instruments, the whistle, the melodeon, and he played his grandfather's button accordion. So this is for Cathal.
In this virtual presentation for World Fiddle Day 2021, I would like to talk about Mick Duggan, a man from whom I learned a great deal about Pádraig O'Keeffe, as well as about the musical repertoire of the Sliabh Luachra area. Indeed, it was Mick, or Mikey as he is also known, who introduced me to Pádraig's notation systems. Over the years, I had many sessions and conversations with Mick in his home in Knockrow East near Scartaglin, as well as in public houses such as Dan O'Connell's in Knocknagree and Lyons's and Fleming's in Scartaglin. In 1967, at the first Féile Cheoil in Scartaglin, he won the senior fiddle competition, for which he was awarded the perpetual Pádraig O'Keeffe Trophy in its inaugural year. I'm very pleased to say that my own name is also inscribed thereon. On a visit to Mick in 1978, he generously gave me a number of music manuscript books which contained tunes written in standard notation. Inserted loosely in one of these books were some of Pádraig's original manuscripts with tunes written in his own handwriting and in his own method of notation. On seeing these, My interest and imagination were fired to learn more about them and to gain a greater understanding of the music itself. That was indeed a watershed day in my life. On that same day in 1978, I recorded a selection of tunes from Mick, including 3 great polkas, which, like much of his repertoire, came from Padraig. He had no names for them, so I've now come to regard them as Mick Duggan's polkas. We'll hear those a bit later. In my quest to gain a deeper insight into how polkas are played, I transcribed in minute detail Mick's playing of these 3 tunes. All the A parts are written immediately underneath each other, and similarly the B parts, with the double stopping and harmony notes included. With the music laid out like this, the idiomatic enunciation became visually obvious, especially with regard to the effects of the double stringing. This revelation served to consolidate what my ears told me, and was indeed a eureka moment. In 1999, I did a video interview with Mick in his home in Knockrower East. He spoke about his own life and especially about Padraig. He also played some tunes, and indeed we played a few together. I'd now like to feature some excerpts from this recording.
I was about 14 years, I suppose, and I learned a few tunes from this woman next door, Ellen Sullivan, that I was telling you about.
Yes.
And she was a great concertina player, but I don't think she had that turn for the fiddle.
Right.
But I learned a good few tunes from her.
I see.
And then, after a while, I went to Padraig, or he came to me anyway. And we started from there.
Mm.
So he was coming to this house, I suppose he was coming once a week for 20 years anyway. That.
For that long?
Yes.
Yeah.
Off and on.
Yeah.
He'd come once a week anywhere, once a fortnight be the first way for 20 years.
You were telling me earlier on about getting your first fiddle.
That's right.
Down in
Paddy Nolan's of Scartaglin.
Tell me about that again.
I was in town with my mother, and I sat her and we come home that we'd go to Paddy Nolan's first to buy a fiddle. I knew the Paddy of the fiddle, so we went away over and she bought the fiddle for me, and the fiddle and bone case cost £2. But of course, fiddles that time were cheap and they weren't much good either, Matt.
Mm.
Do you ever remember the strings? They would call them gut strings.
That's right, yeah.
They wouldn't stay tuned while we'd be playing one tune now. After every tune, you have to tune them up again.
Mm.
But I often said if Padraig had the fiddles of the present day and the strings, he'd be marvellous man altogether.
Yeah, yeah. What was the first tune that Padraig taught you? Remember? In the final excerpt, I get to play 2 polkas with Mick. These are 2 of the 3 which I refer to as Mick Duggan's polkas, and about which I spoke earlier. Mick passed away in 2012. Personally, I feel very fortunate that I had made his acquaintance and that I learned so much from him about the music. He was a source of information and inspiration, and I'll be eternally grateful for his wonderful generosity in sharing with me all he knew. Through him, I felt a real link with Padraig and with that golden era of fiddle playing. I'm very happy to be able to include this tribute to Mick as part of World Fiddle Day in Scartaglin 2021. Good Mila Mahabif. Once again, I'm delighted to be part of World Fiddle Day in Scartaglin, but this year, 2021, it's virtual and I'm online about 50 or 60 miles away from Scartaglin, or should I say maybe 100 kilometers. I'm going to play two slides. These are Padraig O'Keefe's slide, the first one, and the second I call it Mick Duggan's slide. And in fact, both of them came to me in 1978 from Mick himself. So here we go.